Freak shows, a circus attraction, started in England during the 16th century when physical deformities and differences were often seen as signs of evil spirits or bad luck. Back then, people with unusual appearances were feared and misunderstood, but some clever showmen saw an opportunity to turn this fear into entertainment. One of the most famous was P.T. Barnum, an American who created a new show. Instead of hiding people with rare conditions, he put them on display for the public to see, calling them freaks of nature and curiosities. For the price of a ticket, you could gape at a man who ate everything but his manners, a woman with a beard sharper than your uncle's opinions, or inseparable twins. But not all circus acts were fun and games. Some were so wild, weird, or downright disturbing that they ended up banned, too controversial even for the anything-goes atmosphere of the freak show. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 55 these banned circus freaks with rare photos that'll haunt your dreams. Johnny Eck, known as the Man with No Body, was born in 1911 with sacral agenesis, which left him without the lower half of his body. Despite this, he became a famous performer in the 1930s to 1950s, showcasing his remarkable abilities, such as walking on his hands, performing acrobatic tricks, and playing basketball. Johnny also pursued art, becoming a painter and sculptor. He appeared in the 1932 film Freaks and used his condition to challenge societal views on disability, proving that physical limitations didn't have to define a person's life. Georgia, around 1880, had a rare condition called Virchow-Seckel syndrome, which caused her to have a small head, bird-like features, and intellectual disabilities. She became famous in sideshows, where she was marketed as a wild woman or jungle creature, often wearing feathers to enhance her appearance. Cuckoo gained further recognition for her role in the 1932 movie Freaks, where she danced with other sideshow performers. The film, though controversial at the time, has since become an iconic commentary on society's treatment of people with differences. Maurice Tillet, born in 1903 in Russia to French parents, was a bright and athletic child with dreams of becoming a lawyer. However, his life changed dramatically in his 20s when he was diagnosed with acromegaly, a condition that caused his bones to thicken and altered his appearance. Facing discrimination, Tillet turned to professional wrestling in the late 1930s, adopting the persona of the French Angel. His unique appearance and wrestling skills made him a star. Many believe his distinctive face inspired the character Shrek. Tillet retired from wrestling in the early 1950s due to health issues and passed away in 1954 at age 50, leaving a lasting legacy.
Prince Randian, often called the Snake Man or Human Torso, was one of the most remarkable circus performers of his time. Born in 1871 in British Guiana, modern-day Guyana, Randian had a rare condition called tetra-amelia syndrome, which meant he was born without arms or legs. Randian's story is both inspiring and tragic. Though he had no limbs, he was fiercely independent. He could shave, paint, write, and even roll his cigarettes, all using only his mouth and shoulders. His acts in the circus showcased these talents, leaving audiences in awe. In the late 19th century, Randian, the famous showman, was discovered by P.T. Barnum, who became part of the Barnum and Bailey Circus. He performed for nearly 45 years, captivating crowds across the United States and Europe. His stage name, the Snake Man, came from how he moved, using his torso to wriggle and position himself with snake-like agility. Pip and Flip were twin sisters born with micromelia, a rare condition that causes their heads to be smaller than usual and can affect their thinking. often called the Twins of Yucatan. Many believed they came from the Yucatan Peninsula. They performed in the Circus of Horrors, where their cheerful and innocent personalities captured the hearts of many. Though their appearance sparked curiosity and sympathy, their charm and kindness made them well-liked by audiences and fellow performers. Despite their challenges, Pip and Flip found a place to belong in the circus, where they could make a living and connect with others. Their story was featured in the 1932 film Freaks, directed by Todd Browning. The film helped show the human side of performers in sideshows, highlighting the difficulties they faced while also showing their personalities and humanity. Years later, their story inspired the character Pepper in the TV series American Horror Story. Freak Show. Daisy and Violet Hilton were conjoined twins born in England in 1908, joined at the lower spine. Despite their connection, they learned to perform independently and became famous circus and vaudeville stars. Managed by exploitative caretakers, they gained widespread attention and even appeared in the cult film Freaks in the 1930s. However, their fame came with hardships, as they were often treated as curiosities. They faced financial and personal challenges in later years, but their legacy as unique performers remains significant. Joe Martin Laurello, born in 1886, became famous as the Owl Man due to his unique physical appearance. He had a rare condition that caused his eyes to appear large and bulging, resembling the eyes of an owl. His unusual features made him an attraction in the circus world, where he performed for audiences as part of sideshows. Joe's condition, exophthalmos, caused his eyes to protrude from their sockets, creating an eerie look. Despite the challenges he faced due to his condition, Joe made a name for himself in the circus, drawing large crowds fascinated by his appearance. He was often displayed alongside other freaks of the time, each with unique traits.
Mir and Dejo were a Dutch performer duo who became famous for their incredible acts that involved piercing their bodies with sharp objects. Dejo, in particular, was known for performing feats where he would drive nails, needles, and other objects through his skin without showing any signs of injury or pain. His performances left audiences in awe, as they couldn't understand how he could endure such acts without bleeding or being harmed. This ability fascinated the crowd, doctors, and the medical community, puzzled by his apparent immunity to injury. Some wondered if it was a special trick or whether he had a unique physical condition that allowed him to do what seemed impossible. Sadly, Dejo's remarkable career came to an abrupt end in 1948. While performing, he accidentally swallowed a needle, which caused serious complications. Despite efforts to save him, the injury led to his death, cutting short a truly mysterious and awe-inspiring career. Grace McDaniels, often called the Mule-Faced Woman, was a performer born in 1888 in the United States. She became famous for her unusual facial features, which were caused by a condition known as neurofibromatosis. This condition led to the growth of large, lumpy tumors on her face, giving her a distinct appearance that led to her nickname. Grace's appearance made her a popular attraction in circus sideshows and freak shows during the early 20th century. Despite her unusual appearance, Grace was considered a kind and intelligent woman. She traveled with various circuses, where she was displayed as part of a freak show, a common practice at the time. Frances O'Connor was born without arms, but she didn't let that stop her from living a full and exciting life. As a young child, she learned how to do everyday tasks like eating, drinking, writing, and even sewing using only her feet, all alone. When she was 15, Frances joined the famous Ringling Brothers Circus. She lived in Sheridan with her mother, who managed her act. Frances's performance amazed audiences because she did ordinary things in extraordinary ways. For example, she would drink wine or beer, eat a steak, and even write a letter, all using her feet. One of her most exciting stunts was holding a gun with her feet, aiming it, and pulling the trigger using only her toes. Her unique abilities challenged what people thought was possible, and her performances became one of the circus's most unforgettable attractions. Frances O'Connor's story showed that no challenge is too big to overcome when you believe in yourself. Cara Farini, born Julia Pastrana in 1834 in Mexico, became famously known as the Monkey Woman due to her unusual appearance. Julia had a rare condition called hypertrichosis, which caused her body to grow excessive hair, including on her face, giving her a monkey-like appearance. She also had a prominent jaw and other features that set her apart from most people. Despite these challenges, Julia became a popular attraction in traveling circuses and sideshows in the mid-1800s. Her manager and eventual husband, Theodore Lent, took advantage of her appearance, marketing her as a wild woman from the jungles of the Amazon. Julia was a talented and intelligent woman who could sing, dance, and speak multiple languages. Still, her true abilities were overshadowed by how she was presented to the public.
Pauline Musters was born on February 26, 1876, in the Netherlands. She is known as the world's shortest woman, standing at just 24 inches, 61 centimeters tall when fully grown. Pauline's small stature was due to dwarfism, which affected her growth. Despite her tiny size, she became a well-known performer in the circus world. As a child, Pauline was a circus attraction, and as she grew older, she continued to perform in various shows. Her act often included her being displayed alongside larger performers, highlighting the difference in size. Because of her delicate features and small size, she was sometimes called the Dutch doll. Her fame grew as she traveled with different circuses, and she became a popular part of the freak show attractions, where people with unusual characteristics would perform for crowds. Susie was a woman who suffered from a rare condition that caused her skin to become rough and thick, making it look similar to an elephant's tough hide. Her skin would often crack and dry, leading people to nickname her elephant skin. This condition, known as ichthyosis, affects the skin's ability to shed dead cells properly, leading to thick, scaly patches buildup. While Susie's condition was unusual, it didn't stop her from becoming a well-known figure in circus performances, where her unique appearance drew attention. Mary Ann Bevan was a British nurse who lived a normal life before things took an unexpected turn. She married Thomas Bevan, and everything seemed to be going well. However, after their marriage, Mary Ann started to notice some strange changes in her body. Her bones and tissues began to grow abnormally, known as acromegaly. This caused her features to change, making her look very different from others. Tragically, after her husband passed away, Mary Ann had to find a way to support her family. She joined a sideshow and became famous as the ugliest woman in the world. Despite the harsh and cruel label, she showed incredible strength and determination while focused on her family. Fedor Yifo, also known as Jojo the Dog-Faced Boy, was a Russian man who became famous in the late 1800s because of his unusual appearance. He had a condition called hypertrichosis, which made hair grow all over his face and body, making him look like a dog. This made him a popular performer in circus sideshows. Fedor would perform for crowds, showing off his unique look. He traveled with circuses and freak shows in Europe and America. While many were fascinated by him, Fedor was still a human being, not an animal. Even though he was often treated like a curiosity, Fedor seemed to take pride in his performances. Years later, his physical traits influenced the creation of the character Chewbacca in the Star Wars franchise. Bill Dirks, the man with 3 eyes and 2 noses, became a circus sensation at 40. Hailing from Alabama, he was discovered by a talent scout and quickly rose to fame for his unique act. Bill used makeup to create the illusion of a 3rd eye between his 2 noses, baffling and fascinating audiences. Although the trick was simple, his mysterious appearance made him a must-see attraction in traveling circuses. He left his quiet life behind and embraced fame, living off the fortune his unusual look brought him.
In 1916, Ediana Pansy Chinery captivated circus-goers with her daring aerial act. Hanging high in the air, she swung and twirled, supported only by her teeth. Her performance showcased her incredible strength, courage, and precision. Audiences were mesmerized as she defied the limits of what seemed possible, demonstrating how far the human body could go with determination and skill. Alice Elizabeth Doherty, famously known as the Werewolf Girl, had a rare condition called hypertrichosis lanuginosa, which caused fine hair to cover her entire body. Born with this unusual genetic trait, Alice quickly became the center of attention. Her parents, recognizing her curiosity about her appearance, decided to show her off in sideshows. Alice's captivating look made her a beloved figure in the circus world, drawing crowds eager to see the Werewolf Girl in person. Levi Valley, better known as Shaman, was a trailblazer in the circus world. Born in 1875, she became famous for her incredible strength and daring trapeze acts. But what set her apart was her ability to undress mid-performance while soaring through the air, a feat that stunned audiences and earned her widespread attention. Shaman pushed the boundaries of circus entertainment and is remembered as a fearless performer who defied expectations and helped shape the circus industry. Idir Boe, born Joseph Idar Boe Piche on January 9, 1881, was a Canadian giant who towered over everyone he encountered. Standing at an astounding 8 feet tall, Idir's massive size made him both an athlete and a living marvel. As a wrestler and circus star, he performed in the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, where crowds gasped at his strength and physical prowess. But Idir's extreme height came with its own set of challenges. In a world not built for giants, he struggled with constant pain and discomfort. Millie and Christine McCoy, known as the Carolina Twins, were born in 1851, conjoined at the spine. They were born into slavery, facing not just physical challenges, but also the horrors of being slaves in America. Despite these obstacles, the twins became talented singers and circus performers. They were admired for their abilities and became stars, but they also fought for their dignity and freedom in a society that saw them as curiosities. Teo Valenzuela was famous for being the heaviest man in the world, weighing 645 pounds in 1922. He became a celebrity in Tempe, Arizona, but his weight caused many health problems. His daily life was difficult, and simple tasks were nearly impossible. Despite his struggles, Teo became famous through circus shows where people marveled at his size. Dominique Castana, known as the Living Skeleton, was so thin that he looked like a skeleton. He weighed less than 165 pounds and, like many others in his condition, suffered from serious health problems like tuberculosis. His extreme thinness made him a popular sideshow attraction, but it also highlighted the severe illness he was dealing with.
Uni, also called the albino, had a rare condition that caused his skin, hair, and eyes to lack pigment. He became famous because of his striking appearance. At the time, people didn't understand albinism, so Uni's condition made him a sideshow star. While he was admired for his looks, he also faced constant exploitation and isolation from society. Grady Stiles Jr., known as Lobster Boy, had a condition called ectrodactyly, which made his hands and feet look like lobster claws. Grady became a circus attraction, but his personal life was troubled by alcoholism and personal struggles. In 1978, Grady committed a crime by killing his daughter's fiancé. His story is a sad reminder that people with rare conditions didn't just face challenges in the circus. They also had to deal with difficult lives outside the spotlight. Carmine, the human spider, was a man who became known for his incredible condition, which made his arms and legs appear fused. This condition is known as congenital amputation, or fused limbs, where body parts don't fully separate or develop normally. Carmine was born with his arms and legs joined at unusual angles, making him look like a spider. His fingers and toes were fused, and he had very limited mobility, but he could still perform some basic tasks with great skill. He was part of the circus, where his unique appearance fascinated audiences. Eli Bowen, also known as the legless acrobat, was born in 1844 without legs due to phocomelia. But Eli didn't let that stop him. He had incredibly strong, flexible arms and used them to do everything from walking to performing amazing acrobatic feats. He joined circuses and sideshows, where his spins, jumps, and controlled falls left audiences in awe. Eli proved that determination can help you accomplish incredible things, regardless of your challenges. Aloysia Wagner, known by her stage name Vieta, came to New York from Germany with her half-brother. At first, she performed as a singer, but soon her unique talents took center stage. Vieta was born without arms or legs, and instead of walking, she hopped around on the lower part of her torso. She used her mouth to do things like comb her hair, dress herself, and even sew. She introduced herself as the beautiful Venus without arms and legs, wowing crowds with her skill and showing the world that nothing can hold you back. Ella Harper, born in 1873, had a rare condition that made her knees bend backward, so walking upright was difficult. Instead, she moved on all fours, which felt more natural. Because of this, she became known as the Camel Girl in 1885, performing in circuses where her unique way of moving amazed people. Even though she faced challenges because of her condition, Ella used her talent to earn a living and prove that strength comes from within, no matter what your body looks like.
George and Willie Muse were brothers born in Virginia at the end of the 19th century. They had albinism, which made their skin pale, while their features were similar to those of others in their family. In 1899, they were kidnapped from their mother and forced into freak shows. Their strange appearance earned them the names Eco and E, and they were presented as Martian ambassadors. But despite being exploited and treated unfairly, the brothers became popular attractions. After years of suffering, their mother rescued them, and they fought for their freedom in a legal battle that highlighted the racism and mistreatment they endured. Joseph Merrick, famously known as the Elephant Man, was born in 1862 in England with severe deformities caused by neurofibromatosis and Proteus syndrome. His appearance led people to view him as a curiosity, and he faced prejudice and suffering throughout his life. But Joseph never gave up on his dignity. His story touched hearts worldwide and became the subject of the 1980 film The Elephant Man, which honored his strength and humanity, reminding us that compassion and respect are more important than appearance. In 1917, Pascual Pon toured the U.S. as the two-headed Mexican. People were very curious. He had a tumor on his head, but instead of hiding it, he turned it into his star attraction. With a wax face stuck to the tumor, Pascual made it look like he had two heads. It was pretty creative, but also a little sad that he had to put a wax face on a tumor to earn a living. Still, he found a way to make it work and got some fame, though I'm sure people were more curious than compassionate. Then there's Psalm, the elastic wonder of the world. This guy could bend his body into positions that made the audience gasp in horror and amazement. Picture him sitting atop a flower pot like his comfy chair. But he showed off his insane flexibility. Honestly, it seems like his body had a mind of its own. Too bad it probably didn't feel great to twist like that all the time. Fast forward to 1962, and Pablo Noel took the danger factor up a notch by sticking his head inside a tiger's mouth in Hamburg, Germany. Yep, you read that right. He relied on trust, skill, and maybe a little luck, though you wouldn't bet my life on it. The stunt made him famous and showed how terrifying and unpredictable circus acts could be. Wild animals are great for drama, but don't always follow the script. Fannie Mills, born in 1860, had a condition called Milroy disease, which caused her feet and legs to swell to massive proportions. But rather than letting that stop her, she joined the circus at 15, earning admiration for her strength and grit. She could have had a much easier life, but instead she became a sideshow attraction, showing off her giant legs. Later, she married and left the circus for a peaceful life on a farm. Finally, a break from being stared at for her legs.
A young Stanley Kubrick, yes, the filmmaker, captured a photo of a man with nipple piercings in the 1940s. This guy was hanging large rings from them for his performance. Because why not? He looked worn down, dressed in an old coat and shabby hat. His face told the sad story of sideshow life, and while it was an impressive, albeit painful act, it was also a reminder of how hard and lonely circus life could be for those who weren't treated like stars. Two wild men were part of an old circus show, covered head to toe in thick body hair. They were presented as mysterious and terrifying, but they were probably just two men with a rare condition who were forced into the circus spotlight. Sadly, their names were lost to history, but the memory of their tragic and strange lives remains, reminding us of the darker side of the circus where people were displayed as oddities for the public's amusement. Known as the Pony Boy, was born in 1895 in Missouri with a condition that made his legs bend backward, like a pair of broken coat hangers. He couldn't stand, walk, or use crutches, so he moved around on all fours, like a human pony. After the Civil War, he became a local sensation at a Texas amusement park, where people came to see the man who was literally walking on all fours before it was cool. For 36 years, Hunter performed, earning applause for his unusual talent, but facing the harsh reality of being treated like a curiosity because of his condition. It's like being the circus version of a viral YouTube video. Impressive, but sad. Frankie Saludo, a circus clown and little person, was known as the white-faced dwarf in the Ringling Brothers Circus. He was often seen with a live rabbit. If that weren't enough to entertain you, he'd also perform a miniature Charlie Chaplin act. But wait, There's more. He also played baseball, but not just any baseball. Frankie was part of the Ringling Giants, a team of little people who played baseball to promote the circus. It's like the circus world's version of the Harlem Globetrotters, but with more pint-sized slapstick humor and fewer basketballs. Ann Jones, the bearded lady, was born in 1865 and made a career out of having a beard that would put most men's facial hair to shame. Back then, women weren't supposed to have facial hair. But Ann didn't let that stop her from becoming a circus sensation. She traveled the world, dazzling audiences with her thick beard and undeniable confidence. Imagine being a woman in the 1800s with a beard and still managing to charm crowds. She was a true trailblazer, though I'm guessing she wasn't getting many offers for dinner dates. John Jennings, also known as the modern Samson, was born in 1890 and was the superhero of the circus world. With the strength to bend steel bars, lift giant weights, and pull vehicles with chains, he was like a walking, breathing human version of "Don't try this at home." Inspired by the biblical Samson, John toured the United States, impressing crowds with his strength while silently questioning why anyone would want to pull a car for fun. He earned a spot as one of the strongest men of his time, but let's be real. Who wants to spend their life pulling cars? Back in the early 1900s, the Fat and Skinny Man was one of the most famous circus acts, and their performances were exactly what you'd imagine. One guy was so big he could probably eat an entire circus tent, and the other was so skinny he looked like a broomstick in a suit. They had hilarious boxing matches where they playfully poked fun at each other's size, making the audience laugh, even though it's sad to think about how they were probably made to perform only because of their odd appearances. Then there was Josephine Myrtle Corbin, born in 1868, who earned the title the Four-Legged Woman. Due to a rare condition where her body fused during development, Myrtle had not 2 but 4 legs. Imagine walking around with that many legs and still being expected to perform for a crowd. But Myrtle wasn't just a curiosity. She was a force to be reckoned with. She worked in circuses and shows, showing off her extra legs like they were no big deal. Still, it's hard not to feel sad for her. She was a star, but at what cost? Born with a condition known as parasitic twins, he had a second, underdeveloped head attached to his main one. This sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. While it made him a major draw at the circus, it's hard not to think about how this poor guy probably didn't ask for 2 heads, but had to show them off for the audience's amusement. In 1924, the Ringling Brothers Circus held the Congress of Freaks, an event where all sorts of human oddities gathered together for a giant group photo. Imagine a room filled with giants, dwarfs, contortionists, and people with superhuman strength. A real-life X-Men team. They performed amazing acts with the audience gasping, but ignoring that these people were on display like prized animals is tough. The whole thing was a mixture of awe and sadness. Impressive feats, but behind those skills, they were just people trying to make a living, not circus attractions. Alexander P. Linton, born in 1904 in Roscommon, Ireland, was the kind of guy who made sure your jaw dropped for more than one reason. After immigrating to New York in the 1920s, he became a magician. But by the 1930s, he was busy swallowing swords like it was just another dinner party trick. He even set a Guinness World Record for swallowing 4 27-inch blades at once. So why settle for one when you can double the danger? Linton's other claim to fame was his tattoo-covered body, which, let's face it, was probably a great distraction while he was busy, not dying from sword-related incidents. He claimed his father taught him the fine art of sword swallowing, though we're pretty sure Dad wasn't the one trying it with 4 blades at once. Despite his fame, Linton mentored only 2 other performers, Bobby Reynolds and Captain Don Leslie.
George Constantinus, also known as the Tattooed Prince, was among the most tattooed men in the 1800s. He might have been the most tattooed man in the world then. His tattoos covered almost every part of his body, from his face to his scalp, genitals, and even between his fingers. The only place he didn't get tattooed was the soles of his feet. His tattoos were inspired by Burmese art, and he showed animals and myths from that part of the world, using bright blue and red colors. People didn't know much about Constantinus's life, but it's said he was born in Albania in 1836. He supposedly got his tattoos to show off, not for religious or personal reasons. Some people claimed he was kidnapped by island natives and tattooed against his will, and even said he was an Albanian prince. But that story wasn't true. The Flying Walendas are a famous family of acrobats known for their high-flying performances, including daring tightrope walking stunts. The Walendas became world-renowned for their incredible skill, courage, and family tradition of performing breathtaking circus acts. The family's history began with Carl Walenda, who founded the act in the early 1920s. Carl was born in Germany and later moved to the United States, where he developed his famous high-wire act. He and his family performed in major circuses and theaters, thrilling audiences with their death-defying stunts. They were known for walking across long, narrow tightropes high above the ground, often without safety nets. The Walendas gained even more fame with their high-wire pyramid, where multiple performers would form a human pyramid while balancing on the tightrope. This act became iconic and made them one of the most famous circus families in the world. Over the years, tragedy struck several times, including losing performers during daring stunts. Mario Zucchini was a famous circus performer known for his daring act as a human cannonball. Born in Italy in 1905, he became internationally recognized for his incredible stunt, in which he was shot out of a giant cannon, soaring through the air and landing safely on a large cushion. Zucchini was part of the Zucchini family and was known for its work in the circus world. Mario's act was among the circus industry's most thrilling and dangerous performances. He would climb into a specially designed cannon, fired with great force. He would fly through the air, sometimes for over 100 feet, before landing safely, much to the audience's amazement. Standing just 5 feet tall, Mabel Stark became the circus's greatest female tiger trainer. In the 1920s, her act was the top attraction at Ringling Brothers Circus. Despite surviving 2 brutal tiger attacks, one in 1928 that required 378 stitches, and another in 1950 that left her arm needing 175 stitches, Mabel continued performing for 57 years. Her fearless dedication made her a circus legend. Unfortunately, after being fired from her last job at Jungle Land theme park, she tragically passed away from a drug overdose, but her legacy as a pioneering tiger trainer endures. Chang and Eng Bunker, born in 1811, were the famous conjoined twins who inspired the term Siamese twins. Joined at the sternum by cartilage and with fused livers, they toured as a curiosity before managing their shows. Settling in North Carolina, they married sisters Adelaide and Sarah Yates and had 21 children. In 1874, Eng awoke to find Chang dead, and despite efforts to separate them, Eng died 3 hours later. Their legacy is preserved at the Mutter Museum in Philadelphia, where their death cast and liver are displayed. Wang Wang, famously known as the human unicorn, never actually made it to the freak show stage. In 1930, an ambitious banker in Manchuria, China, discovered Wang and snapped a photo of the bizarre 13-inch horn growing from the back of his head. Intrigued, he sent the photo to Robert Ripley of Ripley's Believe It or Not, who immediately offered money to feature Wang in his auditorium. But here's the twist. Wang vanished without a trace. Despite the buzz surrounding his unusual condition, he was never seen or heard from again, leaving his story shrouded in mystery.
What are your thoughts about this? Thanks for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you will be the first to see our new updates.